Satchidananda-rupaya Vishnupatyaatahetave Tapatraya-vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. After Putana came and Shakatasura came and Trinavartasura came and these trees fell down, causing everybody in Gokul to get so scared, the whole village went to Nanda Baba one day and said, and too many inauspicious things have been happening. And you know, the trees fell. Maybe all the plants here in Gokul are too old and it's not safe for our children. So we should move. Can you imagine? Because of one little boy and wanting him to be safe, a whole village decides to move. So they all leave their homes. Because, you know, trees are falling here just randomly. What if it had hurt Krishna? And this is not even Nanda Baba saying, huh? These are the people of Gokul saying it. And so they all moved to Vrindavan. And those people who don't know the story so well just assume they were in Vrindavan the whole time. Because you think Krishna, Vrindavan. Yeah. But they actually left their homes. And Chakatasura was killed. Chakatasura was when we don't give Krishna importance and we give other things importance. Right? All the yogurt and the dahi and all of that was sitting on the top. And Krishna killed it. And the people of Vrindavan, the most important thing for them was Krishna. And so if they had to leave their homes and everything that they had for so many years, they left. They literally packed what they could take, what they needed, and they all moved to Vrindavan. There's a whole chapter here dedicated to how beautiful Vrindavan is. Like every single season in Vrindavan is described. It was lush, filled with flowers, filled with fruit. But it also says it had these incredibly still, clear lakes. I don't know if Vrindavan still has them. And the lotuses used to bloom in abundance because they wanted to be there in case Krishna came by and picked one up, because he would sometimes pick up flower, give it to someone, pick up, put it on behind his ear. That's how he wears the peacock feather also. If you want to know the story behind it, Radha's pet was a peacock and the feather fell and he took it and he put it. That's the story? That's the story. But of course the peacock feather has an eye. And so just as you see in Shiv Bhagwan, there's a third eye that sees far more than these two physical eyes. With Krishna, that eye of wisdom is depicted in the peacock feather. So the lakes in Vrindavan were clear and they were still, just like the hearts of the devotees of Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, Yamuna Maya is flowing. And Krishna spent so much time on the banks of Yamuna. And she symbolizes the thoughts in our mind when they are flowing towards Krishna. And also in Vrindavan is Govardhan mountain. It's not really a mountain, hill. But as close to mountain as you can get when you are in Vrindavan, representing that firm faith that the bhakta has for Bhagwan. And so Vrindavan is where Krishna will play his leelas, where the devotees' hearts are clear and still, and their thoughts are flowing towards Krishna, and their faith is steady and strong. And this is why Vrindavan is yatra. It's where we should go. And so I went. I was most disappointed, but that's me. It's not because of Vrindavan. Remember I said until you're ready, you cannot see. It's okay. I just want to make sure it's loud enough for you. But the physical Vrindavan is not physical. It's whenever our mind is able to see Krishna playing. When we can see him being tied by the bhakta and then using that to free devotees. Or when we can see him dancing on Kalya. But before Kalya, quite a few other demons have to get destroyed. He had each one representing something. Vatsasula comes in the form of a calf. And because Krishna was so fond of cows, he thought he'd be safe in the form of a calf because Krishna would automatically love him. And so he represents attachment. But Krishna could see like this. And that story is very short. Killed. That's all. There's no other story in that one. And then they playing on the river, Ganga, and they see this stalk, and it has that big, the way their mouth has that, their beak has that big pouch. Not big, little, big. And so when Krishna goes near, the stalk, the bird, Pakasura. It's Pakasura, pelican maybe. He opens his mouth and he swallows Krishna. And so Krishna lets himself get swallowed. And then Krishna inside, while he's inside, tells the pelican, you're supposed to keep the name of God in your mouth. Not the form of God. And so he becomes really, really, really hot until the pelican has to spit him out. And when he comes out, he tears the pelican in half. The pelican represents this hypocrisy. Remember, we were talking about when we're pretending to be what we're not. Now, there's a certain amount of, when you're in public, to behave a little bit nice. But the hypocrisy is this when we're very deliberately trying to deceive. And also, it's how, I remember one of the very first trip when Puja Guruji had come to Melbourne, and I was 20, was the first time I was meeting him. We had gone for this early morning class. Early morning classes those days were 6 a.m. Early morning class. In Hong Kong, 5 o'clock in the afternoon's early. He had finished the class, and then we had a meditation session, and then it was breakfast time. And so they all were dragging me, come meet him, because I had been listening to satsang for a while. And then everybody in that room was above the age of 60, and I was like 20, so they were all very excited that I was there. And then I remember standing at the door, just watching this whole scene unfold, because I had never met Swamis and all of that before, didn't know quite what to do. It was all very new to me. And Guruji was being served breakfast, and they said, Guruji, do you want cornflakes? And this was his reaction. Kya ye? Cardboard you're eating. Now you must remember, I grew up abroad, and we're trying very hard to all be Western to fit into this Western world, and Guruji does this, kya ye? And I thought, wow, because he was so comfortable being him. And then somebody said, Guruji, you're wearing chappals, let us take you to buy some nice shoes. This is all me watching from the doorway. And then I am like this only. And yes, the classes were amazing. And for sure it was this knowledge. But not needing to be what other people want you to be. And we might think, yeah, of course. But we all do it. We all want to fit in. Or we want to be seen as sincere, we want to be seen as honest, or we want to be seen as diligent, or we want to be seen as, whether it be all the noble values, or we just want to be seen as cool, or we want to be seen as young, or we want to be seen as, and then we not just ourselves. And we not just ourselves, one, because of the other person and wanting to be accepted, but more importantly, we not ourselves because we aren't completely proud or comfortable with who we are. Right? And that's pain. Like when I myself am not comfortable with who I am, and I'm constantly having to think what to be, whether it's for the other person or even for myself, so much tension. And what really struck me was, he was just him. And if you've met Guruji, after a while, he'll look at you like this, like with this grumpy face. And then after a while, there'll be this small smile that sneaks into his he can't help but be happy or be loving. And so when we say non-hypocrisy, we think, people are showing off or people are being, deceptive. And sure, yes, those things definitely exist in the world. People definitely are deceptive and people definitely are showing off and people are being pretentious. But for a seeker, it's more about every single one of us is beautiful. And so to trust Bhagwan's grace to flow through us and let the way he made us beautiful shine, rather than be what we think is beautiful or what we think he would like or someone else would like. And so sometimes these lessons can be learned in a very gross way, but more often than not, it's for us to find that comfort and ease and peace within our own heart. And so Krishna tearing apart Bakasura is like when we have these notions of not enough and not, seeing ourselves as better, seeing ourselves as worse, both, just tear those notions apart and let him choose who we want. He wants us to be. And being comfortable in that. Because really everyone's beauty is their own. And we need all types. Sometimes like, I'm not detailed orientated, and then somebody else is detailed orientated, and then it's like irritating. But without those details, there's mayhem. And so it's beautiful, but it's also necessary. And every single aspect that each one of us have within ourselves will contribute to his work if we let it just shine. And that takes immense courage. It takes immense courage to just be me. Which sounds so silly. Because shouldn't it be the easiest thing to just be me? But remember, I-ness and minus is the cause of. And so because we're thinking so much about who we should be and what would be better to be and how people are seeing me, it becomes sorrow. And it's me. I'm thinking about me. Whereas if I'm thinking about him, then me just happens. And it happens beautifully. Bakasura is defeated. And then comes Agasura, which I think there's lots of loopholes in this story, but it's Bhagavatam, so we will stick to it. Agasura is a snake, and he opens his mouth really wide, and the Gopa Balas walk in. But he's got lots of poison, and his mouth doesn't smell good. So why would they walk in? I'm not sure. But they think this is a different landscape in Vrindavan, because now they knew in Vrindavan, right? They don't know the landscape totally, and so they like seeing all the sights, and then, okay, maybe this is a stinky place, so maybe they just walk in. And Agasura is waiting for Krishna to walk in, and then he closes his mouth. And then there are slight variations of the story, but it is said that Krishna thinks, okay, you think you can stop me from getting out? And then usually when the soul leaves the body, it leaves from the crown chakra. And so Krishna exits from the crown chakra, because that's where Chaitanya would exist from any creature. And so, of course, he dies. And so then all the Gopa Balas have to also come out that way. And then they're like, we didn't know it was a snake. And Krishna was like, I did try to tell you all. But the Gopa Balas were just so confident that if Krishna is there, nothing will happen to us. And so they just took so many risks. And even when Krishna says, don't go there, they still went, because Krishna is there and he'll make it better. And so, okay, everybody dips in Yamunaji, they all become clean, and then now it's lunchtime. And so they're sitting around and everybody's eating, and the Devatas and the Muni Rishis all seeing this scene thinks, how incredibly lucky are these Gopa Balas, just sitting around in a circle, eating from Krishna's hand, taking from his food, giving their food to him, and he's just happily sharing and being a part of that. And they also say that all problems happen when our attention turns away from Krishna. Like when Putana walked into the house, everybody was looking at Krishna, and then when Putana walked in, they turned their attention away from Krishna to Putana, and then that happened. And then when they were pampering Krishna and he fell asleep, so they put him under the cart, and their attention wasn't on Krishna, and then cart broke. And then Mother Yashoda went inside to look after that milk, and then the trees broke. And so the minute you turn your attention away from Krishna, problems happen. And so these Gopa Balas should have known by now, but no, they forgot. So while they were eating and they were sharing their food with Krishna, they suddenly think, where did the cows go? And now they're looking for where the cows are, and they're not looking at Krishna. And then Krishna says, okay, stay here, I'll go find the cows. If you're not going to give me attention, I might as well go. And when Krishna goes to find the cows, Brahmaji hides all the Gopa Balas. And he had also already hidden all the cows. Because Brahmaji, although Brahmaji technically should have known this is Krishna because he was there when Gomata went and asked for the boon, but still delusion comes into our mind and we think, is this really Krishna? And you might not have that delusion because you haven't met him, but sometimes Santa Mahatma come and we think, are they really? Have bhaktas really seen visions of Krishna? Oh, when Ganeshji started drinking milk, is he really like, that doubt comes. Does Bhagwan really exist? Are these people really so evolved? Can you really be so detached and selfless and loving? So Brahmaji also had a doubt. There is this elaborate description in the Bhagavatam about creation, as you saw in Canto 3. Right? How does creation happen? From Bhagavan Vishnu's navel, a lotus appears, and in that lotus, Brahmaji appears, and then he grows 4 heads. That's the description given. But this lotus that grows from the navel is the entire universe. Just the navel is the entire universe that is holding that lotus that has Brahmaji. And so how much more vast is that Narayan on which that lotus has come from? And then Brahmaji creates. But Brahmaji only creates with already existing resources. So the universe already exists and Jivatmas already exist. And so he takes already existing Jivatmas, like remember it was Satyavrata, and then makes him Manu. Remember? Matsya-avatar. And then somebody else also had to become Indra in one of the stories that we did. Bali. Bali from the story that we saw yesterday became Indra in the next cycle of creation. But Bhagwan can create when nothing exists. Can create jivas, can create matter, can create energy, can create thought. And so Brahmaji hid the cows and hid the Gopabalas, but Krishna can create. So Krishna thought, okay, we won't feed the Gopabalas and the cows. He just duplicates himself and becomes all those same Gopabalas and all those same cows, and happily goes on doing what they were doing. And then Brahmaji literally this is what happens. Brahmaji looked away, looked back. When he goes back to sit in his seat, there's another Brahmaji. Because remember, Krishna can create. And Krishna thought, okay, you want to test me? We'll just create another you. And the gods aren't allowing this Brahmaji to go in, saying, which imposter are you now? And then he goes to check, and the Gopabalas are still sleeping in the cave, and the cows are also still sleeping in the cave where he left them. And yet, every single Gopabala is running around in Vrindavan. And he realizes he's made a huge mistake. And so, of course, he comes and he shashtang. Namaskar to Bhagwan. But this whole chapter appears because every gopi, like I said, when Daibanda was there in that story, loved her own kid, but wished that she was Krishna's mother. And that Krishna was her son. And in Vrindavan, if you wished something like this, it would come true. There was just so much love in Vrindavan, and it was always reciprocated. And so Krishna had heard their prayers of wanting him as their kid. And so he became all their children. And so they got to have him, even though they didn't even realize it. But the description given, more than the moms loving their kids more for that here, is that the cows, seeing the calves come even from the horizon, milk would start falling from them because they felt so much love for their calves. Because they weren't calves, they were Krishna in that form. And why 1 full year? Because remember, by the time Brahmaji did that and came back, 1 full year had passed on earth. And so he was forgiven. Of course he was forgiven. And he was used as a way to fulfill the wishes. Close the door. Okay, then keep it off the hook. And the Gopabalas wake up, sitting around in a circle with their lunch, which has been half eaten. And Krishna walks back and sits down, and they say, Krishna, we didn't eat a bite till you came back. And he says, I found the cows, they're there, and they finish eating their food, and they go back home, not knowing that 1 full year had passed. And when they get back home, they have to tell the story, Mama, you know, there was a snake. But of course the parents don't believe them, because when they go into the forest, there's no snake, because it has already been a whole year that has passed. And Krishna was the gopis' sons for that entire period of time. They then go the next day into the forest and kill Dhenukasura. And I'm still going to mention them because I'm going to mention what they represent. Because in our journey, sometimes we think, why aren't I seeing Krishna yet? Like, if doing so much tapasya, I should be able to see him. But it's all these small traces of thoughts that make our mind not be able to see him because he's here. And Dhenukasura would have lived in this forest, and he wouldn't let anyone eat from this forest. And so it's this nature in us to hoard. And every Diwali we're supposed to clean out. And then most people will do this. They'll take out lots of things to throw and then leave it there. Then by the next day they'll say, no, but this actually... in case next year we need. And the pile becomes half. So you still, but the first day you took out so much. The whole point of this not hoarding is, especially with the fruits in the forest, right, when Dhenukasura is, you can't eat that many fruits. And then somebody else could have eaten it. And then it's wasted. And remember, Lakshmi Maya feels pain when we waste. And today it's not fruit in the forest, but there's so many resources. And if we're not using them, give somebody else to use so that it's not wasted. And really, as a planet, we really need to work on this one. Because as a planet, we waste so much. And there's people needing it. And it's lying in drawers or warehouses or and is not reaching all those people that it needs to reach. And so this tendency in us to be able to hoard it, and I'm sure all of you have also noticed that, you keep something, then you forget you have it, and then you suddenly need it, and it appears. Somebody brings it or you buy another one, and so you have it, and that one that you kept that whole time in case you need it just didn't even get used. Like, just take it and give it. Because when we need, he provides. So this Dhenukasura is these, and it's constant. It's constant. We end up hurting, like even here in the ashrama, clean out. And then next mela happens, next show happens, and the drawers are all full again. And so when we do these sadhanas, they have to be maintained. It's not that you do it once and it's done. And that's why we listen to satsang again and again and again, because our thoughts have to get realigned again and again and again. And then we get to Kalya. So I said, Vrindavan is where we see him dancing on Kalya. Pujya Gurudev chose this murti. He liked this form of Sri Krishna. He was so cheeky. Gurudev said, in Hong Kong people are very busy, so we won't do prana pratiksha because they won't have time to do puja 3 times a day. But he's done sthapana of this murti. And he told the story of Kalya when he consecrated this. A few of you were here that day. So blessed. He said, these 5 hoods of Kalya is our senses. And Krishna is dancing. And so if you think of your everyday life, we seeing, then we listening, then we tasting, then we smelling, we feeling the AC, or we feeling. And so our attention goes from what we see, to what we hear, to what we taste, to what we touch, to what we smell, to what we see, to what we hear, to what we smell, to what we hear, to what we see, to what we smell. Our attention keeps jumping to all these 5 heads of Kalya. And when you hear the story of Krishna dancing on Kalya, he's jumping from this head to 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 this head. And Kalya, after he jumps from that head, turns the other 4 heads and spits poison on him. So much of what comes in through our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch, not needed. Just not needed. And Kalya is so lucky because Krishna danced. And so it's like with the eyes he saw Krishna, 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 Krishna. With his ears, Krishna, 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 Krishna. With smell, Krishna, 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 Krishna. With his tongue, Krishna, 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 Krishna. With all sensations, Krishna, 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 Krishna. Wherever the attention got diverted, it became Krishna, 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 Krishna. So 5 heads of Kalya is all the places where our attention keeps going. And let the attention see the world the way the gopis saw the world, but let us see Krishna in that world. When the gopis looked up at the clouds, they used to say, oh, that's the color of our Krishna. Dark rain clouds. And if gopis saw these pink flowers, they'll say, oh, that's Krishna's lips. And the stars twinkling in the sky, and Krishna's eyes twinkle like these stars. Anyway, we can enjoy this world and still have Him in our hearts as we enjoy the world. So, story of Kalya is he was had a fight with Garuda. He was a snake. Kalya was a snake. And the snakes had to give some kind of tax to Garuda. I don't know the details. There was some details. They had to give some share of. And then Kalya refused to give his share to Garuda. And so Garuda attacked. And Kalya came and hid in this lake in Vrindavan because some rishi had cursed Garuda. That if Garuda came near this lake, he would die immediately. And then for cursing Garuda, he fell from rishihood also, because you can't just curse Bhagwan's Vahana like that, you know. So Kalya was hiding here. But because it was a small lake and his poison was going everywhere and it was killing everything, then Krishna thought this is... And then the water from this lake was also going into River Yamuna and polluting the River Yamuna. And River Yamuna becomes one of Krishna's wives later on. And so Krishna's duty to protect River Yamuna, but also water for all creatures. And so he decides that Kalya has to go. And so I know Balvihar version of the story is different. I'm telling you, adult version of the story. So Krishna jumps into the lake and Kalya is sleeping and he swims all the way down and he knocks on the door and Kalya's wife opens and says, why are you here? He'll destroy you. Run away quickly. And he's like, no, I have business here. And he goes right up to Kalya, and he kicks Kalya. And then Kalya wakes up from this kick and Kalya is about to attack and sees Krishna and thinks, oh, wow, such an adorable young boy. And Kalya's words are, I don't usually forgive people, but okay, you've kicked me and I'm forgiving you. Go away now before I kill you. And Krishna says, I'm not going anywhere. In fact, you're the one that has to go. And so Kalya said, well, I gave you my warning already. And so Kalya attacks, and then Krishna attacks, and this fight goes on. And that's when Krishna is jumping from head to head to head to head to head, until Kalya's head has been stomped on so many times that now Kalya is going to fall faint and unconscious, and he's got Krishna's footprints on every single head. And then Kalya says to Krishna, so you're obviously not just any little boy, you're obviously the Lord of the universe. And so Krishna says, yes. And he says, so tell me, did you create the universe? Yes. You created all the creatures in the universe? Yes. Did you create snakes? Yes. Did you create poison in snakes? Yes. So then why are you blaming me for having poison? And Krishna says, I'm not blaming you at all for having poison. You just can't have your poison in this lake. You have to go and live in a cave near the ocean where nobody gets hurt by your poison. And I know why you're here. You're hiding from Garuda, but now my footprint is on your head and Garuda won't touch you. So Kalya goes off to his cave, and now the lake is purified by Krishna swimming in it. And now the water is available for everyone. And everyone in Vrindavan had come running, because of course the Gopabalas ran back home and said, Krishna is dancing on this snake. And they all said, you people tell such stories, and they all come running to see. And really this time Krishna was dancing on the snake, and they were all with their hearts in their mouths that what's going to happen. And so they were all so relieved that that night they had a huge party by that lake itself. And a fire erupted, and Krishna opens his mouth and eats up the fire. And this happens twice. He opens his mouth and he eats up the fire. Because all elements come from him only. So they will all dissolve back into him only. And so the stories of his Leelas is really showing us his Vishwarupa. How they not a little boy. They Bhagwan manifesting his divinity. And then soon after that there comes a festival. And then this one's a little bit controversial, this story, that everyone, and that all the gopis were doing a vrata so that they can marry Krishna. And when they were in the river bathing, Krishna steals all their clothes. And when we were preparing for this today, and I said we have to put the matkas up because he's a chor. And somebody said, how can you call Krishna a chor? He stole the clothes also. It's really interesting how our minds will react to these stories. And social norms dictate a lot about how we think. Do you know, traditionally, there was no blouses. Social norm, nobody thought anything of it. Our thinking changes as per social norms, and we notice things as per social norms. Even in Europe, nobody cares. Depending on how we get socialized, we think of the body in a certain way or lust in a certain way. In this story, he steals away clothes because it's considered the veil that doesn't allow us to see. And socially, it's very good. Covered up. Modesty, especially when you come to ashram, please. But here, in seeking divinity, there can be no veil. And sometimes, very hard for us to give up. Like I said, social conditionings. Because we get so stuck in right, wrong. And so sometimes he has to come in, steal it away. Not what's right and wrong. Our rigidity in the way we see it, and in possibly the ways we misunderstand it. But most of all, why he steals their clothes. They were praying that they can attain him. And so, to attain him, we have to let go of shame, guilt, and all these concepts. The asuras, like anger and greed, so easy to understand. But to notice these residue thoughts that we hold of shame, which then adds to the feeling of I-ness. Right? This feeling of I-ness is so subtle, so subtle, so subtle. And if it gets so subtle, then we're not even able to see it there, and then he has to come in. Or Krishna's name also means scrape. Not one of the more well-known meanings of his name, but it does. It means scrape. And so sometimes in our heart he has to come in, scrape away that misunderstanding or that residue of a thought or whatever it is that is causing bandhana to us. And so preparing the Jivatmas, the gopis, for this eventual merging into him, which we'll see in the Ras Leela. And so one is this incident of him stealing clothes, and then there's another incident of where some brahmanas are doing some rituals, and he asks them for food, because actually they're offering everything into the fire for him, but they say no because they don't recognize him. So he goes and asks their wives, and they give him all the food because they recognize immediately, because they had love in their hearts. And we recognize Bhagavan only when we have love in our hearts. And so Jivatmas have to be prepared, and then social norms have to be prepared, and then finally even Devatas have to be prepared. And so we come to, they were preparing for a Havan, puja. And when they dressed Krishna up all nicely and put tika for him and then said, go and do pranams at the altar, Krishna was like, what's today? What's this exciting event that's happening today that we had to get all dressed up? And then the Baba says, every year we worship Indra because he's the one that gives us rain, and then we able to have all the harvest, correct. And so Krishna thinks, Indra. Which Indra is this, and how many mistakes has this Indra made, and does this Indra need to be taught a lesson? And the Devatas need to be propitiated, means worshipped and respected, right? Because we need to respect nature, for nature to nurture us. But Krishna decides, no. We will worship nature directly, not through the Devata. So he convinces the whole village that we will do Govardhan puja instead of puja to Indra. And Indra is waiting, waiting. Usually by now I would have got some offerings. He's waiting, he's waiting. He thinks, what's taking them so long? So he looks down and he sees they're not doing puja to him, they're doing puja to Govardhan mountain. And they're using all the offerings that they had collected for him. And he thinks, this little boy? And so he starts pouring down rain. One day passes and everybody starts thinking, maybe we shouldn't have listened to Krishna. And then 2 days pass and the rain still hasn't stopped, and now they're getting really anxious. By the third day, the rain has reached their ankles and it's not disappearing, and so they all go to Krishna saying, now what? And so Krishna says, well, we did puja of Govardhan, Govardhan will look after us. And so they all trek to the Govardhan mountain, and Krishna lifts it and he holds it on his baby finger. There was this cute boy I had met recently, and goes to Balvihar somewhere else in some other country, and he's telling me, do you know Hanuman carried a mountain? And I said, yeah, I heard that. Then he said, but he didn't carry it on his pinky. Krishna carried the mountain on the pinky. Hanuman carried the mountain with his whole hand. I said, because Hanumanji was flying. He had to hold the mountain so it doesn't fall on someone. Krishna was just chilling. So with one finger, he just held the whole mountain. He was very happy with my explanation. And it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and it rained for how many days? 7 days. And by the third or fourth day itself, all the Gopabalas said, Krishna, let us carry it for a little while. And Krishna said, no, I'm okay. And they said, no, Krishna, don't be a hero. We also can carry it. And so some of them were massaging Krishna's hand, and then some of them put their sticks to hold the mountain. You know? And after this incident happened and they were playing games, and if Krishna ever thought that it was his turn or if he won or something, they would say, don't forget we helped you carry the mountain. You not so great, we also helped you carry the mountain. Because we genuinely feel we can help him. But he's holding everything with just his pinky and lets us believe that we are helping him hold up this mountain. This is a non-documented story, not in the Bhagavatam. It is believed that one of the gopis from another village got married and was coming to Vrindavan. And before leaving her house from that other village, all her friends, her mother, all the aunties in that village sat her down and said, you're going to Vrindavan, but there's this young boy who does jadoo. And all the girls in Vrindavan have gone pagal. Now you going there, you don't become pagal like them. It's like me when the kids go to America and I tell them, you're going Hindu, you better come back Hindu. So their mothers are also telling them, don't become pagal, right? Remember you are from this village and remember which family you are from, and don't go there and become like all those other pagal gopis. So, how does his magic work? He plays one flute. The minute you hear flute, block your ears. Because that flute has the magic that makes them all pagal. Because the minute he starts playing the flute, they all go running to him. And then don't look at him. Because the whole day these gopis are talking about how he looks. So don't look at him. So when she comes into the village and Krishna goes to her palki, and then he calls Bhabi, and she thinks, oh, it's him. So she does this. And she doesn't look. And she refuses to even hear his voice. And Krishna after a while thought, okay, maybe she's shy later. And after 3 weeks, he comes to the house to visit his friend who just got married to her. She runs into the room and closes the door. Because she's been... But now they're sitting under the Govardhan mountain and it's raining. And she made sure she got a seat behind him so she can't see him. And she's sitting there thinking, how can he hold this mountain? And how is the water not coming in? And how is everyone so happy? And then not only does Krishna hold a mountain, the Gopapalas who claim to be helping him decide, they bored and say, Krishna, play the flute, no? And so he does. He plays the flute for them. And this time, she doesn't block her ears. And his flute is magic, because it makes our hearts dance with his love. And then suddenly she thinks, why didn't I see him? And she could just stand up and go in the front and see him, but now she feels that immense shame that she ran away from him every time he came to her. And so she sits there thinking, Krishna, look at me. But he's carrying a mountain. He can't turn. And so in her heart, she just keeps thinking, Krishna, look at me. Every time Krishna came to her, she closed her eyes. Every time he played the music, she blocked it out. But it's the only thing that can make our hearts dance with love and joy. And now that she's tasted it, she's begging in her heart, Krishna, please, look at me. So strong is her yearning that she can no longer bear to be separated from him. And that gopi gets born again in a palace in Rajasthan, and they named her Meera. And Meera's mother said, you married to Krishna. And her heart accepted it because her heart was already married to Krishna. When he comes, don't close your eyes. He comes all the time. Showers us with his love and grace. To that Krishna, we bow down and surrender in the form of this Bhagavatam to all the great saints and sages that keep him alive, our salutations. To Gurudev for creating this ashram so that satsang can be a constant in our lives. Our heartfelt gratitude. He gave us Krishna. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhavet, asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma mritam gamaya. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti.